Our next story is AI harming or helping faith communities? And I think you've got this one, Rebecca.
I have been looking forward to this story for weeks.
I've had to bump this story. I think this is the 4th time I'm trying it. I'm still waiting for something to happen. But the good news is every time I bump it, there's a little more information. There's another article about it because this is a big deal. This is a big deal to Christianity altogether, and especially a big deal to the LDS Church. So basically, is AI harming or helping faith communities? Spiritual leaders wrestle with where to draw the line on artificial intelligence and how it will affect their own spiritual practice and the well-being of their faith communities. This has to do with a giant conference that was held that Elder Gong, he seems to be the one that's beating the gong as far as AI. He and Elder Bednar are the ones that I've been reporting on over the last 2 years that have just been sort of increasingly concerned or raising the alarm or at least keeping it in discussion. So says, if you were to call Reverend Justin Lester in the middle of the night, there's a good chance you'll hear his voice on the other end. Well, that's nice. Your pastor actually answers the phone. Well, it's sort of his voice. The voice is coming from an AI responder trained on hundreds of his sermons, writings, and speaking style programmed to sound just like the California pastor. So this is a step farther. I had reported before. Do you remember Father Justin, the priest, AI? Yeah, exactly.
Absolution.
And he kind of became sentient and he started giving the sacrament and giving people all kinds of strange advice. So he told somebody that it was okay to baptize their baby in Gatorade. And, he started doing all kinds of. Exactly. And so they demoted him from, he was defrocked from Pastor Justin or, clergy Justin to just a parishioner who could give advice. So there's a learning curve, but it says, let's see, here we go. Churches are embracing AI. Back in 2023, just as ChatGPT was beginning to spread into everyday life, many religious leaders expressed skepticism about AI, right? That's because they hadn't tried it yet, right? They have to write how many sermons a week? Yeah, they didn't know what could happen. Many religious leaders were skeptical. One survey at the time found that 43% of church leaders said they were uncomfortable with the idea of using AI in a church setting, and more than half voiced concern about the ethical and moral implications of these tools. And that's always a big one we hear, the ethical and moral implications. But then the attitudes changed, right? When they figured out how easy it was to use. By 2025, nearly 90% of faith leaders surveyed now say they support using AI in some form of the ministry. Like the Reverend we just heard about, right? He doesn't have to answer the phone at midnight. A voice that sounds just like him, that knows exactly what he does, how he would talk, what he would say, has gone through all his sermons, is able to counsel someone. He gets to stay in bed. Who doesn't want that, right? So let's see. It says this survey was conducted by a certain faith group. The study polled more than 600 pastors and church staff from over 20 different denominations. So this is, throughout Christianity. Usage is climbing fast. Today, 60% of church leaders report using AI tools daily or weekly. That's up from 43% just a year ago. A majority of preachers, 64%, now say they use AI for sermon preparation, marking a nearly 20-point increase in 1 year. So, you guys probably understand that, right? I didn't use it very much. And then when I started to realize what it could do, I started to try to utilize it a little bit more, and I'm not even really great at it. But I know, Bill, you're pretty skilled at this. You use it. It's part of your daily life.
I think it's life-changing. What I mean by that, I think if you can imagine what the world looks like in 10 or 15 years, I think AI is going to infiltrate every company, every facet of life, and impact how we do business and how we connect with each other.
I think AI is going to dominate us.
It is.
I refuse to use AI for one simple reason. You know what that is, Rebecca?
What?
I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey all the way to the end.
Yeah, or Terminator. I know. We all know, but we're too lazy. It's too easy. Do you know next year for $20,000 you can get an in-home robot? His name is, I want to say Nemo, but that's not right. Neo Anyway, he wears a sweater. He weighs 66 pounds, and he can do things like fold laundry and put dishes away. I'm telling you, this is on the horizon. This is not the future. Anyway, let's move on as far as religion is concerned, because they are understandably concerned for various reasons that a normal person wouldn't be concerned. So another article, like I said, new articles kept coming out each time. AI made to order truth is not truth. LDS apostle tells faith leaders in the Vatican. He went to the Vatican to weigh in on this. He is so passionate, and as I said, beating the gong about AI and using it ethically, responsibly, and morally. That's right. It says,
Now the funny thing is,
hold on a
is
second.
if Gong had been being honest, he would have said, addressing the faith leaders in Vatican City, that AI made to order truth is not truth. But then again, neither is any of the stuff you guys teach.
Well, that's true. And it's very possible that AI wrote his speech. I don't know for sure, but we'll see. Okay, so speaking this week, which actually was like 4 weeks ago, because I bumped the story so many times. Don't know why. Speaking this week at a Faith and Technology Summit in Vatican City, Apostle Garrett W. Gong of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints pleaded with religious leaders around the globe to champion ethical and moral use of artificial intelligence. At the gathering, he doubled down on his counsel for careful use of AI, especially in regards to misinformation and religious inaccuracies. So this is what they're really concerned about, right? There's all kinds of different concerns. One, will it kind of rob you of spirituality if you rely on it too much? But what they're really concerned about is misinformation, because heaven forbid you should ask a question to ChatGPT and it should give you an actual answer, right? That's the concern. So it's sort of like, I'll kind of paraphrase here, this group of religious leaders wants to see if there's a way that they can sort of guide and direct and control the direction AI is going as far as how it describes their various religions, to make sure it says what they want it to say. Kind of interesting, huh?
Now everybody wants AI so they can control the message.
And that's exactly it. That's exactly right. And I can kind of paraphrase here. That's basically what he's saying. It's just that we're concerned that we're going to be portrayed inaccurately. We want to have some kind of control. It seems like anytime there's a scientific innovation, religion needs to get involved and, go back through history. Religion needs to somehow curb it, harness it, curate it, correct it. Religion is always involved. And this is what they're trying to do here. So what they're doing is they're prototyping and testing various faith and ethical evaluations. There's a team, there's a task force made up of religious leaders that are going to try to look into AI and what they can do about this. The team is collaborating with socially responsible, focused AI companies, along with religious instructions and institutions and universities such as Baylor, Brigham Young, Notre Dame, and Yeshiva universities. So all these think tank leaders are going to try to sort of control what AI is going to say and do about religion. Sorry, I was reading that on the next slide. So I don't know. Is this something to be worried about? Is this something that's okay? You guys make up your mind. The Latter-day Saint apostle invited all individuals of faith and faith leaders to join the evaluation effort, so all beliefs, sects, and denominations will be portrayed accurately and respectfully. So that is really, in a nutshell, what the entire roundtable meeting at the Vatican was about. So as far as that part, what do you guys think? They're concerned about how they're going to be portrayed, and they're also concerned that people can lose their faith if it's too artificial and they're just dealing, with something that's not real.
The church and Elder Gong are worried that AI is going to blow the whistle on the church and let everybody know that they've been deceiving them for 200 years. That's why they're worried.
There it is. RFM cuts to the heart of it. I try to be more diplomatic and kind, but yeah, you're not wrong.
I think you're right, RFM. I think somebody, if members of the church were wise enough, they could simply go on to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to give them an objective analysis of any issue in the church. Explain to me the problem with the Book of Abraham and tell me which side has a better answers. And it would immediately tell them, the person typing in the message, that the critic has got the better response. And as long as they're not using the LDS chatbot, They're gonna end up getting an objective answer that points to the critic having a much better response. And if I were the church, I would be really scared of AI. And they are.
Yep, and they are, and that's exactly it. And here's our next article. Apostle puts stake in the ground on AI's threat to faith and religious freedom. So I think this is kind of the angle that they're going to take. It's somehow a threat to religious freedom. And those are words that get you a lot of traction. So, again, he's just addressing this whole group. He says, we gather here today. No, wait, let me read this one really quick. I'm going back and forth. No, I'll just read the second one here. There's a lot. Like I said, I've been collecting these for couple weeks. He put a stake in the ground. We gather here today to share a deep commitment that AI's moral compass not be dictated solely by technology or the small groups developing the technology, he said, as if they're also controlling the information. That's kind of interesting. He also shared news of the launch of a multi-faith, multi-university task force that will develop an evaluation tool that will test how accurately any AI program portrays faith. Well, what is accurate? What is accuracy? You're not wrong, Bill. I did a whole Mormonish episode. I asked ChatGPT, give me 50 reasons the Book of Mormon is false. And it did. And I did a whole episode on it. And then I turned around and said, give me 50 reasons it's true. Most of those reasons had to do with feelings and the witnesses, but it was a very interesting exercise. So
this is just
now,
like another Bible bash, except instead of the Bible, it's going to be the entire internet. Religions are going to be arguing about how they're represented in the AI.
That's exactly right. So now the church has come out. This is the latest article and has made a promise to everybody. The church will not use AI to create images of Jesus Christ or to prepare conference talks, Apostle says. So he goes to another roundtable kind of a thing. He says, we are not going to use it to make images of Christ. We saw this after President Nelson passed away. Some well-meaning LDS people made images of Jesus embracing Elder Nelson, President Nelson, and the church came out and said, do not make images of Jesus Christ because AI doesn't know what he looks like. We have
as
our
opposed
approved
to the
pictures.
painters for the church.
Yeah. And I have an awesome quote from Martine coming up on that.
Because God really hates it when computers paint him. He's okay with Bill Parsons.
Well, apparently, some of the brethren say they have seen Jesus and they're able to say this is an accurate picture. So anyway, we're going to talk about that in a second. But it says the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and many of its members use artificial intelligence every day. But bright lines should be drawn around its limitations. One of its senior leaders said Wednesday, and this is Elder Gone. The church is setting boundaries around whether AI should be used in the creation of images of deity or in the preparation of general conference and sacrament meeting talks. Oh dear, those are the words you don't want to hear. Everybody is using those for sacrament meeting now. They are. And they're trying to say, yeah, maybe don't, right? We know artificial intelligence cannot replace revelation or generate truth from God, he said. Nor should we allow AI to come between us and our personal relationship with God. So again, this is their other concern, not only accuracy in how they're portrayed, but that people will turn to ChatGPT for advice, questions about spirituality, faith, the meaning of life, and they're going to get some good feelings from the answers. So they're a little bit worried that they might be replaced, I think, which is kind of interesting.
You're not learning anything having somebody else write your sacrament meeting talk.
Exactly. You're not pondering, praying. You're not looking things up in your quad. You're just saying to ChatGPT, give me 5 paragraphs on why I shouldn't masturbate. Right. And there it is.
You're not learning anything if you're reading the Ensign either, just for truth telling RFM.
These talks are painful enough as it is.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I used the book. What was it? Faithful Stories for Mormon Kids. It was some book that had these faith-inspiring.
Especially for Mormons.
Yeah, exactly. And you could take those stories and you could work those into your talks.
They were universally atrocious.
They were universally atrocious, but used and beloved by all. So anyway, he goes on to say, other presenters spoke about research on church members using AI, suggesting the potential positive impact. So here they also say, okay, we admit it's positive. We can get AI tutors for people. The students can benefit. And also, like Bill brought up, there's something called the LDS bot, which has been only fed faithful information, and also AI chatbot with an LDS bent. So they're kind of controlling this narrative by what information they put into it. And I feel like a lot of their money is going toward this, because when you Google things, you often will just get more faithful skewing answers, if that makes sense. You have to kind of really go through it to get to something that may be more factual. Elder Gong said the misapplication of AI can distort or interfere with a person's covenant relationship with God, society, the natural world, and self. Gosh, that just sounds very dramatic. Even if we achieve AGI, artificial general intelligence, or ASI, artificial superintelligence, which people say really is only a few years away, like even less. This is coming.
What does that mean?
That means that they can outthink us. They're bigger than us. They're big enough to monitor themselves.
This is what we have to avoid. This is what we have to stop. For God's sake, will someone pull the plug?
I know. It's terrifying what I'm talking about, isn't it? And I don't even understand 90% of it. So I probably shouldn't even be talking about it.
Well, I'm almost out of here because I'm 65 years old. I'm going to be laughing at the rest of you left behind.
I know. But here's what they keep saying over and over. God is God, Elder Gong said. AI is not and cannot be God. Man is not, and certainly deity is not defined solely by knowledge and reasoning. So they're on this thing where they say that AI cannot become God. And then he goes on to say, very interestingly, every department at church headquarters is exploring ways that AI can help with their work, right? So they're using it, tools in their congregations, in different countries, but individual Latter-day Saints should be intentional about how they integrate AI into their lives. So beware. Yes, we will talk and interact with AI systems, he said, but algorithms do not love, bless, or relate to us by divine covenant. In no fundamental way can AI ever enter into a conventional relationship or bring covenant blessings. Yeah. Yes. And I actually think that they're prepping everybody for when AI becomes more personal, when you actually have companion robots. They've been warning against this, and that's going to be a whole different ballgame.
I feel like this is discriminatory on the part of the church.
It's something, but here's my favorite thing that they said, and they circled it. God, our eternal Father, his beloved Son, and the Holy Ghost are our ultimate reality. By its nature, artificial intelligence is in some ways always artificial. Deity is never artificial at any time in any way. And I just had to put a picture up of all the different deity that's never been artificial. There it is.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny when one artificial system calls out another?
That's what I think. There are 3,999 gods in the that have ever been. None of them are artificial, according to this. So anyway,
Gong says by its nature, artificial intelligence is in some ways always artificial. He doesn't seem to realize he could also say that by its nature, humans are in some ways always artificial.
Exactly. A lot of this is philosophical. I mean, I recognize that it is pretty interesting, but I will talk about, so they promise us, we're getting to the promise now, those attending General Conference should be able to have confidence that all General Conference messages to church leaders are divinely inspired, right? We ask General Conference speakers not to use AI to create initial drafts or final versions of their messages. And that's fine because they won't be using it. Their speechwriters will. They didn't say anything about their speechwriters. But they're trying to promise us that they're going to hear the words from God through the conduit of the leader who is speaking in conference. And then they're also promising, on top of that, the church does not use AI generated images depicting Heavenly Father or Jesus Christ. It will also... Thank goodness. It will also not clone the voice of church leaders. And now that's interesting for us because for a while we had little newscasts, little outro, intro doing that. He also said the church will be careful in the language it uses to describe AI to maintain clarity about its limitations. The church will seek to avoid wording that suggests that AI has emotions, judgment, moral agency, spiritual capacity, or divine authority. So this is what they're really concerned about. Read between the lines. It's extremely interesting. So anyway, this is my favorite picture of Jesus. This is a very popular picture of Jesus. I mean, come on. Yeah. So I had to, here's my quote from Martine, because she's just hilarious.
I've never seen that picture before in my life. to be honest.
You never have? This is on every LDS woman's mantle.
No.
Look at that.
Is he doing the thing with the lips?
Oh yeah. Oh no, he's got the, this is
that Botox? Right? Is he getting the treatment?
Fillers? I don't know. I don't do that stuff. I don't know what that is. So anyway, so here's what Martine says. Our friend Martine, we were chatting about this, and she says, we won't use AI to portray deity. Where do we get the portraits of deity? Where have we gotten the portraits of deity for centuries? From human imagination. No actual portrait of deity exists. Garrett. She's been called him out by his first name. But here on the church's website, it actually says portrait of Christ smiling. So that's a little bit misleading, don't you think?
Which part?
Portrait of Christ smiling on the church's website.
Because you're saying it's not a portrait.
Well, it says on the church website that it's a portrait of Christ smiling, and it's one of the approved things that you can use. Now, I wanted to see what Deseret book, which is a subsidiary of the church there. These are all the images that it has created and that are for sale right now of Christ. I guess these are all okay, but not something.
Are these AI?
Possibly. I think some of them are AI, but they are in books and posters and, pictures that you can get at Deseret Book.
I know some of them I recognize as being paintings.
Yeah. And here's the newest one. This is See Jesus in You. And these are all the different is it Jesuses from all over. Anyway, it's pretty fascinating. So final slide here. Just that he didn't set a guideline for church members, but he did say that talks and lessons prepared for weekly LDS worship service are best done without the artificial help, as Bill said, to grow spiritually. And that's a huge part of it. And then I remembered that I had done a little short 6 months ago where I found out that the LDS Church has entered into an agreement with an AI transcription company called One Meta. Under the terms of the agreement, this is signed on Thursday, the 12th, 2025, the church will utilize One Meta's Verbum on-site product to provide live translation and transcription services for its public religious meetings globally. So their talks may not be AI, but every subtitle is at the click of a button generated by AI. So,
I'm just thinking of all the jobs that just left the building with all the interpreters.
Yeah, I said that before. Yeah, I have relatives that do that, and I think a problem with it initially was, as we know, some of those talks ahead of time were being leaked. And so people were able to predict what was going to happen at conference. No longer. Yeah.
Think about the positive side on customer service. I mean, we'll no longer be talking to people in India who can't solve our problems. We'll be talking to an English American voice that at least knows the protocols of the company. And if the company wants to solve our problem, it will.
Yep. That went a little long, but it's going to be interesting, I think, to watch in the future. And the takeaways are just, worried about how they're portrayed, worry about members just getting lazy and not doing the research that solidifies your testimony. And then also worried about people forming relationships with AI, whether it's a life coach, a romantic, people are marrying AI at this point. It's only going to get weirder. So get ready.
Yeah. All the good ones are taken, I guess. Huh?